Meet FloodNet NYC.
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 FloodNet NYC.
Meet FloodNet NYC.
Hi, my name is Polly Peroni, and I'm the project manager for the FloodNet team. I'm based out of the Science and Resilience Institute at Jamaica Bay at Brooklyn College, but I also spend a lot of time working at the NYU Tandon School and the Center for Urban Science and Progress. My role as project manager is sort of to facilitate the relationships between the various collaborators and stakeholders that make up FloodNet. So that's these two research institutions, as well as the Advanced Science Research Center that's a CUNY campus up in Manhattan, and then the Department of Environmental Protection of NYC and other city agencies that are involved with the project. I think all of our team members bring different sets of experiences, different methods, and ideas into the project. And while that can certainly be overwhelming at times, I also find it really exciting at the end of the day.
I'm Andrea Silverman. I'm one of the co-founders of the FloodNet project and one of the co-directors. I'm also an associate professor at NYU, where I'm an environmental engineer. So in addition to working on FloodNet and flood-related things, I teach classes and do research in water quality, wastewater treatment, and waterborne contaminants. One of the reasons why we came to start working, or at least I came to start working on flood-related things, was actually because of contaminants that we were concerned about in floodwaters. And one of the things that we recognized in trying to study some of those contaminants is that we didn't know when flooding occurred and that there wasn't much data available in flooding, which brought us to the project, which is monitoring floodwater and understanding its depth in real time.
My name is Elizabeth Henoff. I'm an assistant professor at the Integrated Design and Media program at NYU Tandon School of Engineering. And what I do for FloodNet is I've been with FloodNet since the inception of the project, and so my role has kind of evolved in that process. And one of the things that I've been working on most recently is thinking about strategies for public engagement and prototyping different strategies for public engagement. And so last year we ran an interdisciplinary symposium inviting folks from the arts and from the humanities to think about what it means to turn environments into data and what the kind of ethical implications of that are. We also ran an artist residency a couple summers ago where we commissioned new work from different artists local here to New York City to respond to the data that was being generated by the sensors and also to respond to the kind of community engagement connection with generating data about environments that people live in. So I had worked on a project a long time ago about microorganisms in the environment in the city, and we had taken samples from subway stops all around the city, all 462 subway stations. And there was one subway station that had been flooded during Sandy that carried a microbial trace of that flooding event even years afterwards. So there's this kind of microbial memory of what had happened in that environment and that flooding event. You know, we think about the impacts of flooding being damaging property, endangering lives. We think of the impact of like the water as a force, but also the water is in a certain sense another, like an environment that hosts its own kind of more than human component. And so we were kind of riffing off of that idea and we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could run a little pilot study and see what is the microbial impact of surface level floodwater on sidewalk surfaces. And we realized that it was kind of hard to predict when there was going to be water at this particular site. We kind of had this research need in which we needed to know, is there water at this particular spot next to the Smith and Ninth subway in Gowanus that we knew flooded often and that was kind of our test site. And we just were like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a sensor that would just tell us if there's water here or not for our research project? We realized that there was a lot of other folks who were thinking along those lines. There's the folks at CUNY who we have been collaborating with since those kind of first ideas were being hatched, who are also working on a flood sensor. And so we kind of merged our research efforts and our development efforts to consolidate onto like one single sensor design. There was folks at FloodWatch also who were looking at flooding more so from a human documentation perspective and human impact perspective. So starting really with community needs and thinking about documentation of that.
My name is Hannah Eisler-Burnett. I'm a cultural anthropologist and I work on issues related to urban flooding and how people are adapting their relationships with water. I am the coastal resilience specialist with New York Sea Grant, and New York Sea Grant is a partner to the FloodNet project. So I've been working with the FloodNet project in that capacity since September 2023, and before that I was actually a postdoctoral scholar working on the FloodNet project, helping design a public engagement strategy. One of the primary origins of FloodNet is a project called FloodWatch, which is run collaboratively by the Science and Resilience Institute at Jamaica Bay and New York Sea Grant. The FloodWatch project works to document flooding in neighborhoods, coastal neighborhoods all around New York City with a focus on the Jamaica Bay watershed. We document how flooding is changing, where it's happening, how frequently it happens, what causes it, and with the belief that photographs are really powerful and developing an archive of photographs can really contribute to an understanding of the everyday impacts of sea level rise and other effects of climate change. Here's an example of a photograph that a community partner took of high tide flooding in a community garden. And I just want to share this because I think it really helps to illustrate how flooding is impacting everyday spaces that people are using and relying on. So the Community FloodWatch project does that work, and out of collaboration with neighborhood groups and communities that were participating in this citizen science project, we started thinking about developing flood sensors as a way to take the burden off of people who were feeling like they needed to take a photo every time there was a flood event in order to document it. And also to back up that photographic data with something that's more quantitative.
Hi, my name is Veronique Ignace. I am the Community Engagement Manager at FloodNet NYC. I lead all of the community engagement efforts for the project, as well as developing the strategy, participating in the implementation, which oftentimes includes building connections with community residents, resident-led organizations, sometimes elected officials, and all kinds of folks that are working within the flood space in New York City. I think what I'm most excited for as part of the FloodNet project is the possibilities that can come from city organizations, community residents, and academic researchers working together and also being informed by each other to create some solution toward addressing flooding that's happening across the city and in different ways. Communities that are flood prone are experiencing flooding in different ways, and there are many things that can come from that as far as learnings for how we do this work, what needs to come of this work, and what other types of tools or resources should exist.
I'm Charlie Midlarts. I'm a research associate professor at NYU, and I am the technical lead on the NYU side for FloodNet. My favorite thing about being on the team is that the multidisciplinarity of everyone. Like, we're very varied in our skill sets, and I really enjoy working with such a talented bunch of people across various fields. We've got incredible technical people on the team, we've got incredible community people on the team, we've got social scientists, we've got water engineers. There's a really great mix of people, and I'm really happy to be part of such a diverse group.
My name is Kendra Kruger, and I'm the STEM Education and Outreach Manager at the Advanced Science Research Center at the Graduate Center CUNY. And I'm working with the FloodNet team to develop different types of curriculum to teach folks about how flood sensors work, so the actual technology behind the flood sensors. Right here you can see one of our demonstration sensors where we're using an Arduino system. It's a little mini microcomputer. And here we're showing how these little ultrasonic sensors are able to light up these LEDs based on the distance of my hand below it. And what's happening is it's basically sending a little sound wave, a sound pulse, a ping downwards, and that reflects off of my hand and shoots back up towards the sensor, and it's able to calculate the distance with that.
I also want to tell you about our Community Sensor Lab, which is located here at the Advanced Science Research Center that both Dr. Ricardo Delito-Crow and I started together, where we're really focused on teaching the general public about how environmental sensors work. And we've developed a whole platform using Arduinos, which are these little do-it-yourself computers where you can plug in any kind of sensor. And what we're really doing is teaching STEM skills, so about coding and electronics and environmental science through these different environmental sensing kits. So what I've got here holding is a demonstration about how the ultrasonic sensor works in the flood sensors. We also have a whole kit that shows how air quality sensors, so if folks remember when the sky turned orange back in June of 2023, we were able to measure the amount of particulate matter that's in the sky. And so with these sensors, folks can learn how to do coding, do the electronics, and have a little tool that they're able to use in their communities to collect this sort of data for themselves.
My name is Ricardo Toledo-Crow. I'm a professor here at the Advanced Science Research Center, and I run this lab here, which is called the Next Gen Sensor Lab, the Next Gen Environmental Sensor Lab. We make sensors for air, soil, water, very much in the urban environment. We have a specialization in low-cost, low-power sensors. FloodNet is a project that started in this lab, and as well as in the New York NYU lab. We started off with a simple sensor to monitor floodings in the Jamaica Bay area, and that grew into the FloodNet project that we have been working on for the last 4 years. We have also been developing the wireless network solutions that are used in the FloodNet project. And we actually started early on with some of the technology you see around here, and now we're moving into cellular technology.
My name is Amanpreet Kaur, and I am one of the sensor engineers on the project. So as a sensor engineer, we are primarily responsible for building and QAing the sensors, but my role specifically also handles the maintenance and deployment of these sensors out in the field. So after we build them, I'm the one that goes out and also puts them out, and also then watches and makes sure that they keep functioning as they should.
I'm most excited with bringing a tool like this to the city of New York. So bringing this kind of technology and deploying it at scale really kind of excites me, because it enables us to kind of test whether this thing can be useful. And I really hope that it can help mitigate and reduce some of the impact of these events, and maybe even provide more forewarning and just give more awareness to people who are impacted by these events.
I think the thing that's most exciting about the FloodNet project is that there's space for community voices in the project design and in the project outputs, and that's a really rare thing to find in a smart cities project like this one.
I think the most important thing for me to share with community residents from a community engagement standpoint is that if we're meant to be orienting ourselves toward something, whether that end goal is meant to be community resilience or that end goal is meant to be flood resilience, we need to ensure that we're making space for the people that are the most impacted. And so I think what's really important about the FloodNet project is that we are making the effort to learn about how we should be showing up in these spaces, but also trying to find ways to incorporate the inputs for the people that are really at the center.
So one of our goals with our community engagement team in FloodNet is to develop more of these educational curriculums and content showing people how the sensors work and how environmental sensing works. So we have put together a sequence of different workshops and lesson plans where people can learn about both the technology behind the flood sensors and also do some activities in talking about what people notice in their own neighborhood using photo voice activities, and also to do deeper dives into the data dashboard so that we can really help folks understand how to navigate the online tools that are available that show real-time flood data that's happening that can be accessible on any kind of mobile device, a computer or a phone.
I think just understanding more about how the data might be used is very interesting, and it helps us shape how we deliver the data and collect it. It's very important for us to know more about that so we can help build better tools to provide this information to people.